almost 5 years after the introduction of the standard-based curriculum at the primary school level, the Ghana Education Service, Ministry of Education, and the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, NaCCA, have scheduled to withdraw from next academic year one of the subjects, Our World, Our People, from the system. This is due to an alleged duplication or similar content in that textbook and that of the religious and moral education taught in schools. A statement signed by Professor Edward Appiah, the Director General of the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, reads, and I bring you portions of that statement. It says, I bring you compliment from the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, NaCCA. Management of the council has decided to withdraw the subject, Our World, Our People, popularly called OWAP, from the standards-based curriculum. This will take effect from the next academic year. As part of our mandate, NaCCA has done a critical review and comparison of the religious and moral education, RME, and the Our World, Our People. Our review of both curricula indicates similar substrands and focal areas, indicating similarities. The situation amounts to a repetition of knowledge between both curricula. Beyond this, we have received feedback from teachers expressing similar observations made by the council. It is hoped that this action will help enrich the standard-based curriculum Ghana has adopted and enable learners' understanding of the curriculum, since facilitators will now be able to focus on the individual strands as captured in the religious and moral education, counting on your usual support. Now, Our World, Our People was among several curricula introduced in 2019 by the Ghana Education Service in association with the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment. The subject has been taught to pupils in kindergarten through to primary 6 for the past 5 years. And interestingly, we now, Our World, Our People, and religious and moral education have similar substrands and focal areas amounting to repetition of knowledge. Let's expand the conversation further and talk to some of the think tanks in education. Joining us on Zoom is the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies, IFEST, Dr. Peter Partey-Anti. Doc, I'm grateful for joining us. Now, 5 years after the introduction of the standard-based curriculum, a subject is up for scrap. What will be your initial assessment of this situation?
Thank you very much. And those of us who've been on the field evaluating the implementation of the standard-based curriculum were not surprised when we saw this letter. Of course, I've been in the meeting when these discussions was carried out, and the reason was that most of the teachers found out that the content were similar or the same. Now, at the basic level, a teacher handles almost all the subjects. So if you go through RME and then you now go through the Our World, Our People, which was a new subject that was added to the already existing subjects at the basic level, you would know that you are virtually teaching them the same thing. So what happened was that most of the teachers were teaching RME and would not talk about the content in Our World, Our People. And then when they mention the things in Our World, Our People, they will not teach it when they are dealing with RME. I think that was the confusion that was emanating, and a lot of the teachers were complaining. So it wasn't surprising to us at all when this letter came out in November.
Even though the teachers are complaining, has a subject, Our World, Our People, been impactful to the pupils?
If you read the rationale for that particular subject, you would see that the essence is to inculcate the tenets of honesty, sincerity, respect, and all those values in the Ghanaian student. Interestingly, those are the same moral values that are mentioned in the religious and moral education subjects. Ideally, somebody that is into curriculum like myself, I still didn't get the reason why the developers of these two curricula did not see this right from the beginning. Because when you go for curriculum writing, you have all these subject experts sitting together to do the writing, and sometimes they compare notes and do all that. So if a little due diligence was carried out during that period, they would have noted that these subjects overlap, and one of them definitely would have to be dropped.
Well, but in drafting such curricula, what should be the guiding principle or the aim for us to develop a certain curriculum to say, well, we decide to go with this?
Well, we are in a system where things continuously change. So at a point in time, you have certain things introduced into your educational system to achieve a specific aim. So I think that when they wanted to do the OAP, the focus was that we are in a global village. We want the children to appreciate the people around us, and then we want them to also know the environment and all those things that come in between. What they fail to do, as I've indicated earlier on, is that when you go for curriculum writing, what you normally do is that you develop your strands and then you compare. So if I'm developing a curriculum for economics and there are mathematical topics in it, I have to talk to the mathematics team to know whether they are capturing these topics. If they say they are capturing these topics, I don't include them in the economics topics that I'm dealing with. That is how it was supposed to be done. So if they did this due diligence at the early stages, they would have noted that all the strands in OAP also appear in RME, and therefore they would have crossed some of them out and developed a subject that would have been distinct and would have been called OAP. But they didn't do that due diligence, and this thing have been in the system for 5 years. And fortunately, now NaCCA did the review, which they normally do, and they realized that, in fact, there is repetition of content, and they needed to drop this one.
What becomes of the fate of the publishers of these textbooks?
That is where the problem is, and I think that it's important NaCCA have given them an indication that going into next academic year, they are not going to mount this particular subject. So if you are into publishing, what you have to do is that you try and sell all your books before next academic year, else you are going to run into a loss. It's unfortunate. They are going to incur some loss because of this change, but of course that is a business that they are running. I think they would find a way around it. But if you have printed the books, you should find a way to get them out of your work. Your storehouses.
Well, I'll let you go. But shouldn't anybody be held accountable for this?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that
all right.
NaCCA is doing a normal review. Okay. 5 years of implementation of standard base. They can add on. They can remove some. Done.
Okay. All right. Okay. Grateful to you. Peter Ante is an educational consultant there now.